Alright, so I'm going to do a talk called Hacking LinkedIn. And hacking is, in a way, it's kind of like a person who thinks outside the box and applying certain strategies to something that where most people think inside the box. Now, most people think of LinkedIn as a personal networking environment, right? Personal networking. I actually think of it as a business platform to help identify folks that are aligned to my vision, connect with them to get them to participate in what I'm doing, and ultimately become, either participants or customers of what I'm doing. Right now, there's no framework for doing a startup. So basically, if you've got an idea for a startup, you're on your own. There's plenty of advice, but there's no systematic process to validating, team building, and customer identification of your startup. Right now, you're at the mercy of whether or not you know someone who's an institutional investor willing to put money behind you. And if you do, then you're fortunate enough to launch your idea. And in reality, we all know that 97% of all startup ideas fail. The biggest problem is, number one, there is no definition. So LinkedIn, what I'm doing is I'm hacking LinkedIn in a very out-of-the-box way to allow me to validate ideas using my 2,000 or nearly 2,000 plus LinkedIn connections. So here's what we do. First thing I do is I put the idea up there. Now, instead of creating a personal connection, what I'm doing is creating idea connection, saying, this is my idea. What do you think? Now, ultimately, because of that, you respond. You connect up, and when you connect up, I send you out another email saying, what do you think? Will you be an advisor? Will you be part of the team? Do you think this is a problem, right? So your action of linking up results in the next stage. That next stage then can be used to, bring you on as advisor, as a team member, strategic partner, or eventually a prime partner. So how does this relate to what you're doing? Well, think of it this way. If you have a conference, what value would it be to have your LinkedIn connection saying, I'm attending this conference? And for them doing that, offer them a 15% discount. Because the thing is, the moment someone says, so think of it this way. If you have any sort of product, you set up your product as a connection. You then, instead of you right now, what I'm doing is I'm hacking it, because right now you've got to send in-mails and all that. It's kind of really a lame way to connect. What I'm doing is, the moment I set up a profile and then I link my email, boom, I've just crowdsourced the idea to 1,700 people. Now, what I can do, which is also really clever, I can get a team member for FoundUp, say, hey guy, you've got 2,000 connections. I'm going to give you access to my LinkedIn account, this new, idea product account, and then you're going to change the name, and then you're going to crowdsource it to your connections, right? So now we've just crowdsourced it to 4,000 individuals. And all you did was you do either a CSM upload of your addresses, or you just link your email or Gmail, whatever. So right there, in a matter of 1 week, I can build up a LinkedIn profile to over 1,000 connections. And I can validate any product, any idea out there by connecting up with the folks, right? And send them emails. Now, I just launched something called the Open Incubator. Join OI, the Open Incubator framework on LinkedIn. I just created this profile. So as people link up with me, guess what I do? I send them an endorsement saying, hey, will you endorse this? I'm looking to flatten the startup. I need your help. Why do you endorse what I'm doing? Or B, I have like become an advisor. I send a recommendation. I say, sorry, I'm hacking LinkedIn. I'd like you to be an advisor. Read this, so as they link up with me, I'm crowdsourcing them to become part of OIF. See, I'm hacking the LinkedIn system, bending it to what I want it to do. See, that's what a hacker does. Most people are sheep, and they look at LinkedIn and they go, oh, okay, I'll put in my first name, my last name, and they don't think of the potential. The thing is, the potential is massive. And if you start thinking outside the box as I do, and I encourage you to hack LinkedIn. Just because they put a profile saying first name, last name, put your first name and then put your corporate ID as your last name. Or put your product as your first name, all right? And then put your last name, put your name as the last name. And crowdsource it. Whether you're offering web services, whether you're offering, think of it, the conferences. I think that there's a value in getting folks to put that I'm attending this conference on their profile. Why is that? Because the moment you add, future of education attendee, conference attendee, and have a link, right, to your conference as a LinkedIn profile, all of a sudden you're crowdsourcing it passively to every connection. Now, most likely that person who's going to that conference knows folks, right, going to that conference. So think about that. The moment you can passively crowdsource and give them a 15% discount. Say, listen, if you will go to this conference, right, and you add it to your LinkedIn profile, and it becomes a past event, right? So once the conference is done, it's past. Imagine showing your conferences that you've attended on your LinkedIn profile. Why not? Now, there is no connection for LinkedIn conference, right? It's a company. So, these are hacks. These are good hacks. Now, LinkedIn is fighting me because they don't like my hacks. Because ultimately, see, what I'm doing is I'm screwing up their database. And the moment I screw up their database, what happens? That database becomes useless. So the fact that I'm not playing their games by putting my first name, last name in their database, in essence, I'm fucking it up. So I would encourage you to start thinking about LinkedIn outside the box. Think of it as a platform within a platform. OIF, the Open Incubator Framework, is launched on LinkedIn. If you type in FoundUps under a people search, you will see, our network. If you type in FoundUps on the company search, you can see all our FoundUps. And we've got more coming. So, they're trying, it's funny because what they're trying to do is trying to stop a tsunami. And instead of adjusting their product to meet the tsunami, they're doing the classic institutional thing of opposing it, of trying to stop it instead of going with the flow. And, so they suspend an account. Whoop-de-doo. That account has already succeeded. It's already crowdsourced, So it's what they're doing. Even if they suspend the account, who cares? It's been crowdsourced. The invite has gone out to everyone. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's a lot more to this, but I think if you start thinking of LinkedIn as a way to crowdsource via your networks, then you're going to start seeing the platform in a complete different light. Now, I've offered LinkedIn 1% of every startup that we launch into a FoundUp. Every FoundUp we launch into a startup, I've offered them that. However, they don't see the opportunity here in saying, hey, wow, imagine if we had 1% of every business that FoundUps Corp launches into a startup around the world because they use our platform. Instead, they're focused on some silly terms of agreement that basically, states that you've got to have your first name, last name. And how many, if you think about it, it's kind of a joke, because in actualization, every Indian name on LinkedIn, if you're from India, your name is a pseudonym of your name. So they might as well ban every Indian. Not only that, every Chinese, because they're all pseudonyms of their name, and that's illegal on LinkedIn. They don't have Hindi in LinkedIn. You can't type in their name in Hindi. So the simple fact is, the terms of agreement is complete bull. And it doesn't really stop anything, and it doesn't ultimately, do anything. So hack LinkedIn. I empower you. Put your corporate name as your last name. Screw up their database. Join me, because I'm not changing. I'm not changing.